Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you 10 of my most memorable landings, I would say. Before I show you these videos, I just want to tell you thanks for your prayers and your support. As I look back at the 8 months of being assigned up north, flying the Cessna 182, I have realized by checking my logbook here that I was able to log 365 hours transporting over 200 plus patients. That's not my accomplishment, that's our accomplishment. You guys have been praying, you have been supporting, and I see where God has tremendously blessed. In these videos that I'm about to show you, just want to share this very quickly. Safety was never compromised at any point. I always had visual of the runway. Then I would know my personal minimums, because that's very important. Personal minimums were clearly established and I never compromised on those. I always had extra fuel to divert to my alternates that had way better improvement. I've just realized that as a missionary pilot, the most critical patients always show up on my schedule at times when the weather has its challenges. So just want to share this with you as a safety feature. Know your minimums, know your limit, and do not compromise on those to do or get any mission done. Let's go in now and let's take a look at those top 10 most memorable landings that I've done to get the mission accomplished. Our number 10 is PALANAN. On this approach, pretty much straight in. I've already cleared the Sierra Madre. The mission that I was doing on this flight is basically right beside me is the former mayor of PALANAN. PALANAN is one of the coastal towns that we do offer our services. He is a pilot, so I was a little nervous on the approach about to come over the water here. And I'm going to be doing a technique that I want you guys to never practice. So I just trimmed the aircraft so I can have full elevator control. I retracted my flaps, I'm raising the nose, and then I'm just waiting for that sink, and there's the touchdown. So it's an old technique, do not practice this at home. Number 9 is TUGUEGARAO. Landing in TUGUEGARAO is the hottest part of the Philippines. And the technique I just showed you earlier on, which is retracting your flaps, some pilots do question the safety of it. So I have taken this wing view where the wheels will touch down. You're gonna see the flaps retracted, and then you decide how dangerous this is. But as I'm about to level off, I'm gonna retract my flaps now. Flaps are coming up, I'm flaring, and then that's what the touchdown looks like.
Hey guys, welcome to Mako. It's been a while. Let's see which. Alright, so I'm heavy right now. I'm just gonna do that amount of flaps. Heavy, high, fast. Overall, turning off my. I'm not gonna slip it.
So welcome to Mako, guys. As you can see here, this is 99 pieces. They have like ramen noodles, rice, canned goods, and they're gonna be distributing it to the AGTA so that they can have a little food in this pandemic. So coming in on the approach, as you can see, my tail is right where it's supposed to be. and want to show you guys where MACONACON people. Number 7 is San Jose. There was a typhoon that hit the Philippines last year, and I was transporting two members of that ADRA team. They had a large sum of money that was going to be distributed to those who were affected by the typhoon. Weather was good, but en route, basically I had to keep my speed up to get to the airport before this heavy rain. So I did have enough fuel to turn back, but I realized if I keep my speed up on the approach, then definitely I would get to the airport before the rain came down. The weather deteriorated really bad, and I was stuck in this area overnight. But the mission was successful at the end of the day. Number 6 is ROMBLON. This was my first time to go into this area, and the weather was good. Coming in on the approach here, I did a right downwind leg after overflying the airport, and I remember I picked up two seniors that needed to be transported back home to be reunited with their family, and it was an amazing experience to go somewhere. First time was by myself, and that's where I had to just make sure that weather, visibility, and everything was okay, and also how to get in there. So I was tested a little on situational awareness because they have a mountain on the left hand side. But at the end of the day, the mission was successful, and I enjoyed this landing a lot. Number 5 is LAOAG. I remember on this approach, it's my first time going here. I was on a maybe like 20 miles out. I was on final already on runway heading. The autopilot does have an approach mode, and I was just playing around with that a little bit. The headwind was very strong, and you're gonna see it here shortly. The airplane just would not want to settle down. I was being held in ground effect even with my flaps retracted, and I just had to wait and wait and wait and wait forever for the wheel to touch down. Fortunately, they had a very long runway. Number 4 is Batanes. On this approach, very bumpy, very strong winds coming over those hills. And I had a patient who had done a brain surgery. They were returning home, and this is a mother beside me, and she slept through the entire thing. On this approach, I've learned going into Batanes multiple times to fly a slightly higher approach so I have less updraft and winds to deal with, and then as I come over those, I just reduce my power and kind of drop in and sink a little bit more. And so the wind was primarily from the right, but the danger with this airport is you come in oftentimes with a tailwind, and you have to be very, very careful with what you do.
5256 advice, runway inside. We have inside. Confirm, runway inside. Inside, standby. 5256, we have you inside west-southwest of the station. Are you coming in for landing now? Yeah.
Number 3 is Batanes. Basically, visibility was low because there's this rain passing over the runway. I set my minimums here, and I decide I'm not going to go below 500 feet. And if I don't have visual of the runway, by the time I get to the shoreline, I'm going to make a U-turn, go hold, and then come back and try a second approach. So this is an example of when you set your minimums, do not compromise. And if you don't have that runway, go around, divert somewhere else. The mission was to transport a returning patient going home, also a young lady that someone had tried to molest her, and she needed to go back home to be reunited with her family after being stranded for a couple months due to the pandemic, and she was not able to continue her studies. Number two is Plaridel. There was a request for a patient, but due to the COVID pandemic, it took them 3 to 4 days to finally get their paperwork. And so when they were ready to go with paperwork and documentation that would expire within a day, I had to get the mission done. The weather, though, was not cooperating as much. However, on this approach, I did pass an airport along route that had beautiful VFR. I notified them that I'm going to try one attempt into this airport. And if I don't land on the first approach, I will divert over to them. So they were on standby to receive us. But we found a gap, we got in, and we landed safely and got the mission done. So, mission accomplished. Weather was a little shabby on the approach, but I had enough fuel to hold until the rain passed over. I didn't have to hold though. It improved enough for me to just come straight in. But it's deteriorating now and they have closed off VFR operations. So chances are I might not get to go in, but I mean to go back home to base today, but at least the patient is successfully transported. Number one on the list is Banwar. Basically, I remember this mission where I had gotten on the first leg, weather deteriorated, I couldn't continue, so I needed to come back home. On this flight, I'm topped off with 8 hours of fuel, and I only flew for less than 1 hour, so I had plenty of fuel, plenty of reserve, and I did have multiple alternates to turn back to. My GoPro kind of exaggerated a bit because it after a while you're gonna realize you cannot see the runway, but all the time I had visual on the runway. It's wet, so I had to be very careful with my braking action. Again, when you set your minimums, do not compromise. It's always safety first. I would like to share a Bible verse with you. The Bible says in Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. Without Christ's help, none of these missions would be successful. So I want to thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching. And we look forward to sharing with you more missions and more opportunities that the Lord will entrust us with in helping to deliver hope and to save lives. God bless and mabuhay from the Philippines.